if you are an entrepreneur or a high achiever, you're someone who's kicking butt, taking names, or you want to expand your kicking butt and taking names-ness, come talk to me. I would love to talk to you about getting your message out more, whether it's on the 12-hour marathon, helping you create your own platform as a podcast or a show or whatever is your best vehicle. I would love to support you in that. Message me, chris@beyourgps.com, or find me on Facebook or Instagram and message me there. Looking forward to talking to you about you becoming your greatest possible self. Next up is the iTunes review of the week, and this week it's by Chaim K. I think that's how you say it. Chaimk. Chaim says, like a nav system for your soul. This podcast is aptly named GPS. The majority of men and women lead lives without a map. An overview of the big picture. This podcast will help you navigate through life and truly become your best possible self. So if you want to become your best possible self, number one, subscribe on iTunes so you can get all the latest updates of the episodes when they come out. And number two, give us some feedback. Let us know. Give us some reciprocation. Say you're loving this show or what we can use improvement on to make it even better for you in the future, in the coming episodes. Thanks so much in advance for doing that. I love you. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. And let's keep growing. I'm going to introduce Lisa Marie in just a second. Before that, grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, be ready to take notes, be ready to become your greatest possible self in this interview, because Lisa Marie and I are going to bring the fire. Make sure you stay all the way through till the end, because you never know what one idea can transform the rest of your life. And I have a feeling there's going to be gold in this interview. Let's introduce Lisa Marie, and then we'll bring her on the screen. Lisa Marie Pepe is the confidence coach and online visibility expert for passionate, heart-centered women entrepreneurs, a #1 international best-selling author of The Art of Unlearning. Top experts share conscious choices for empowered living. And she's a motivational speaker. She has been featured on the Huffington Post, Thrive Global, YFS, and several other noteworthy publications. Lisa Marie has also appeared as a special guest expert in over 40 international tele-summits and has been interviewed on dozens of highly regarded podcasts such as The Stellar Life, The Big Movement, and Women in Leadership. Trained at the graduate level in both education and clinical psychology with over 3 years of experience as a successful virtual assistant and social media manager, Lisa Marie empowers her clients to fully embrace their unique gifts and talents by providing them with the skills they need to develop rock-solid confidence, become vibrantly visible online, and turn their wisdom into wealth. Cha-ching. She is available to speak on self-empowerment, overcoming obstacles, confidence building, positive psychology, entrepreneurship, online business growth and development, and online visibility strategy. And we are blessed to have her here with us today. Lisa Marie, are you ready to rock the house, Superwoman?
I am. I am so pumped for this. I actually cut my gym workout short to do this, and I never do that. Anybody that knows me, I'm like, I don't do that for anybody. But I was like, you know what? This is totally worth it. I love what you're doing here.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa Marie. I so appreciate you. And I know you like moved heaven and earth to make this interview happen. So I really appreciate you and being flexible and just being here to give your wisdom and your experience to our audience, because we all want to learn how to be unstoppable in life and business and go from, in fear and overwhelmed and stressed out and just not having that visibility that we want, not having the confidence, to being those bold, pardon my French, but badasses online, creating massive impact in the world. And I know you're going to help our audience do that. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really blessed to be here. So
awesome. Let's dive right in. The theme of the day is live events that change lives. So Lisa Marie, how has your perspective shaped on live events, whether putting them on yourself or attending live events that were life-changing? How has your perspective shaped about live events?
Yeah, so I've actually not hosted my own live event yet, but of course that's something on the bucket list, along with, of course, doing a TED Talk and all these other things.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I've had the chance to meet several of my mentors in person
Mm.
And there is nothing like that when you are physically in the same presence, in a room with the people that have been coaching you and cheering you
Mm.
on and, lifting you up and tagging you. And the people who have been there, right? So, like year long masterminds, for
Mm.
example, and then
Yeah.
having those get togethers at the end, it was. It was really powerful for me, definitely. It made me feel like I belonged,
Mm.
right? Like I had what I'm looking for. I think to some extent we are all trying to prove ourselves a little bit. We're still trying to, make sure that we've got the credibility and we've got,
Mhm.
the social media cred, right, that we need to run an online business. And for me personally, like I said, getting to meet my mentors, Jen Scalia, Amber Net, Selena, Sue, these are people that, I aspire to be more like in terms of growing, right, as an entrepreneur. And so being with them and in their presence, it just makes it that much more tangible for me.
Yeah, it's like for me, I know for years ago I would say, who am I to go online to share this message to say I'm a coach and that I can help and support people? And it's like seeing other people in person. I can imagine. I know it happened for me, seeing them speaking and making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in their
Yes.
business doing what I aspire to do. It's like,
Right.
okay, if they can do it, I can do it too. And it just makes it more tangible and real and like ignites a fire in me to keep going
Mhm.
and keep showing up.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, I left out of that bunch, of course, Maru Abichuela and then
Mm.
AJ Mirzad, right? I've had the
Mm.
opportunity to meet all of them. And
That's awesome.
there is something about meeting them. It's almost like it levels the playing field a little bit,
Yeah.
right? So
Mm.
I'll give you a prime example. My very first in-person meetup
Mm.
was with my coach and a group of women who had joined a year-long mastermind. We met in New York City, and I remember getting there, feeling excited, but looking around the room and going, "Oh my God, am I in the right place?" Like, because I had recognized these
Yeah.
faces, I had recognized these names,
Yeah.
and I'm sitting there, and for a few minutes, right, I kind of felt a little shrinkage. I was just like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing here,
Yeah.
and to know that I utilized that as fuel,
Mm.
right, to then skyrocket my own visibility, to skyrocket my own presence, to not judge my own worth, because I actually called myself out on it when we were doing
Wow.
hot seat coaching.
Wow.
Yeah, she said, well, what do you want to talk about today? And I said, I'm going to talk about the fact that I feel like I'm sitting here right now and everybody else is so much further ahead than I am.
Mm.
And I said, I know that may sound silly, it may sound funny. And it was my coach, Jen Scalia, who said to me, she's like, you have every right to be here, just as anybody else. And I went through that entire year long mastermind. And by the end of it, there were only a few of us who had followed through the entire program.
Yeah.
And I was one of them.
Wow.
So when we got to meet up again in Texas this time, we went to a beautiful resort and it was like all inclusive. It was amazing, amazing experience. And Jen's amazing. And Amber was there, Maru was there, and all my mastermind ladies were there. And I just remember sitting there and going, you know what? I do belong here. I
Mm.
totally belong here. I proved to myself that I belong here.
Mm. That's so powerful. I
Yeah.
think that knowingness of belonging is probably one of like the biggest assets that people can have,
Mhm.
so number one, I'd say that's so huge for anyone who's listening or watching live or replay. Like, create that belonging in your language, in your life now, like wherever you're at, whoever you're around, like know that you belong in the online space. You belong as a top coach or consultant or author, speaker, influencer, expert, whatever, or just in your relationship. Say I belong in a great, loving, prosperous, abundant, connected joyous relationship. So I think that's really, really powerful, Lisa Marie, that you recognize that for yourself when you came from not feeling that, and then after a year later, you're like, I'm the one who freaking made it through. I stuck it out. I completed this thing, and you created that for yourself.
Right, right. So I've always been the person to utilize any adversity or any perceived, I guess, weakness
Mm,
to really fuel me. So
yeah.
I have this saying, like, it's okay to have a pity party for one,
Yep.
but just don't outwear your welcome, right? Like, don't be that guest at your own pity party
Mm,
and you are like the last one hanging out and the person's just like, oh my God, would you go home already? Like, I've already put the food away, I've closed shop, like, go home, right? And I share that in a joking fashion, but of course I know what it's like to be on the other side of it too.
yeah. Yeah. So powerful. This is great, Lisa Marie. So let's talk a little bit more about who you are, what you stand for, what your clients come to you for. I mentioned some of it in your intro, but in
Mhm.
your own words, why don't you share about that so our audience can get to know you a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, thank you again so much for having me. This is so exciting, and then it's live and it's on Zoom, and I love Zoom, and it's just perfect. Um, so I came into the online entrepreneurial world back in the fall of 2014.
Okay.
And that was after having had reconstructive shoulder surgery
Wow.
back in January of 2014, which was
Mhm.
the result of an automobile accident that I had had in 2011. At the time I had the automobile accident, I was working as a licensed massage therapist here in my state, and I loved what I was doing.
Yeah.
So I'd already gone to graduate school. I had done the teaching route.
Mhm.
And then I went on and got another master's degree in psychology. I worked in clinics. I worked in substance abuse clinics, domestic violence clinics, and I got really burnt out.
Mm.
So by the age of 26, I literally was at like a breaking point. Like, I had a nervous breakdown at 26 years old.
Is that again just because of overworking, or what was the cause of that?
Yeah, it was the cause of being a perfectionist my whole life,
Mm.
never feeling like I was good enough, always feeling like no matter what I did,
Mm.
it wasn't enough. I remember graduating from college and under my breath saying, as I went up to get my diploma, right? And I graduated with honors. And I remember saying, big deal. Everybody gets a college degree.
Mm.
So you want to talk about negative self-talk and
Wow.
like this sort of view of never feeling good enough. That's how I felt. I felt like big deal. Everybody gets a college degree nowadays.
Mhm.
That's an erroneous belief,
Yeah.
but it was held somewhere.
Mm.
And I desperately wanted to get a PhD because I felt like then I would have conquered the academic world, right?
Mm. Yeah.
And I started off in a PhD program right after for sociology in New York City, and kind of got there and was like, wow, this is really not what I thought it was going to be at all. So I'm going to gracefully exit stage right.
Yep.
And again, I felt like a failure though. I felt
Mm.
like, huh, could hack it, I guess, right? Um, I forgot to mention that the unfortunate and sad events of 9/11 happened to take place the very same week I had started graduate school.
Wow.
I think that had something to do with it.
Yeah.
So I stayed a year, I left the next year. But right away, I went into a master's level program for education.
Mm.
Got my degree, did all my student teaching. Halfway through the program, I was like, nah, still not good enough. I'm going to get another degree. I'm going to apply again to a doctoral program in psychology.
Wow.
Got waitlisted at the doctoral level, but got into the master's level. So I was like, great, here we go. Right. So I'm like 24, right? Already got my master's. Now I'm going for my second master's.
Mm.
And by 26, I was working as a mental health clinician
Mhm.
in a substance abuse detox facility.
Mm.
And I just couldn't hold it together. I didn't know at the time that what I was suffering from was, empath fatigue, essentially, right? I just knew my whole life that I was very sensitive, that I was very emotionally connected to people, and I couldn't understand what was wrong with me, right? Why couldn't I turn it off when I left the office? Why was I starting to have a lot of anxiety? Why was I not able to sleep? Why was I not able to concentrate? And it just escalated and escalated. And even though I went against probably what would have been the best choice for me, which would have been to just gracefully exit, I pushed myself to a limit to where I was forced to exit. I remember waking up and saying to myself, oh my God, like I don't care if I live or die. That's how bad it got. And I went into my office that day and I broke down and I started to cry. And I said to my boss, I'm so sorry. I said, I know I'm letting you down. I'm letting all these people down. I said, I can't do this. My own life is crumbling. I said, and I don't know how to do this. And I need to get myself some help. And I need to take some time. And I need to go. And I don't know if I'm going to come back. 26 years old. And that's what I did. And by the grace of God and a really good therapist, really supportive family, I was able to thankfully come through that. But of course, going through that, it did leave me with a sort of traumatized, right, like view of going back into that world. Yeah. So that's when I chose to go into massage therapy. It was still a way for me to help heal people without taxing my emotional side, my mind and my emotions. And so I loved it. I loved what I was doing. Back on my feet, I think I hadn't even turned 30. I was like, all right, this is awesome, right? I'm going to keep doing this the rest of my life. I was in great physical health. I was working out. I was, just feeling so good. And then I got into a car accident. Yep, 2011, got into a car accident on the way home from work. And I suffered a tear in my shoulder, except the first MRI didn't pick it up. So my hands were tied. It was a motor vehicle accident. I won't go into the details. But I found myself yet again at a crossroads. What do I do? Because I could not go back to work as a physical body worker.
Right.
I just couldn't do it. My shoulder was messed up. My neck was messed up. So I spent those 2 years hiding. And I'll go into that a little bit more after. But during that period, I would say that I was barely surviving. I was just going through the motions of life. I took really, really crappy jobs. I took a job as a telemarketer at the age of 32 with 2 master's degrees, a license under my belt.
Oh, man.
Took a job as a telemarketer. And I cried every time I went there. And here's the pisser. I got fired as a telemarketer.
Wow.
And so during this period of time, because I felt so badly about myself, I had created an external reality that validated what I was telling myself.
Yep.
Right? Why else would I have applied to be a telemarketer when I had all this education and skill set and all this, right? When I got fired, my mindset was still so far down that I got in the car and I berated myself. I looked in the mirror and I was like, you're so pathetic. Look at you. You're a piece of like you can't do anything right. How do you screw this up? Like, who gets fired for being a telemarketer? Like, really? And I begged for my job back. Begged. So you want to talk about getting to like the lowest points in your life? I've been there. I have been there more times than I care to talk about. But I'm ready to talk about them because I want people to know that when you finally make the decision to truly love yourself and to commit wholeheartedly to accepting yourself radically, not trying to change the essence of who you are just so you can fit in with everybody else's, stereotype of what you should be or who you should be, everything changes. everything. And so getting back into how did I do this? Why am I even online? Or how to become an online entrepreneur? Well, I finally had a wake-up call about 2 years after the accident. I was still dealing with a lot of physical stuff, by the way, kind of, never got settled. I was told it was in my head. You're a hysterical female. You have fibromyalgia. You have this, you have that. There's nothing structurally wrong with you. Of course, I knew different. I knew the body. I knew my body.
Yeah.
So in 2013, after my wake-up call, which is a fun story, I could share that later, I wound up getting my life back together, really. I just picked myself up by the bootstraps and was like, okay, this is ridiculous. I'm bouncing from job to job. I am not happy. I'm not fulfilled. I'm in a crappy romantic relationship that went south 3 years before. So I was settling everywhere in my life. I was just settling. And when I had that breakthrough moment, it was as if the flame inside my soul that had become so dim all of a sudden had this explosive light again. And in that moment, that's when I declared, like, never again. From this day forth, right, I'm going to be my own best friend, my own advocate.
Yeah.
I'm going to be my own hero, my own hero, right? I'm going to be the person that I'm craving, right? The person that I'm searching for out there. Oh, damn, she's me.
Yeah. Another way I love to explain that is, who is the coach or the mentor that I want to work with? My dream mentor or person who I want to work with, aka Lisa Marie. Who is that dream version of myself? What are their qualities and how do they show up in the world? How do I be that person now? Because that's who I want to work with. That's who I want to lead me and guide me. So at some level, I feel like they are outside of where I am and where I want to be. So how can I embody that more now? And it sounds like you really got clear on who that was that you wanted to become, and you became that woman.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm still a work in progress. And I let people know that, because I don't want for people to think like, oh my God, she went from being like desperately depressed, not wanting to live, to just, woo, she's confident and she's just rocking out. Like, I am still human. I still have very human days. There are things that I deal with every day as a result of having a botched surgery, 3 years after the fact of getting injured, which is why I am an online entrepreneur. I was working in education when I had to have surgery. So I'd gotten my life back together again, had a great job, was loving life. And then my doctor was like, hey, by the way, you're not crazy. We're going to do a second MRI because I believe something is wrong. And what do you know? The confirmation was there. And he said to me, I'm sorry, but the only way to repair this is surgery. And I just looked at him like, yeah, no duh. Right? Like, I knew that 3 years ago. We probably could have saved me a few years of, daily agony had you just taken care of it in the beginning. So the surgery wound up being complicated. And as much as I wanted to go back, I just couldn't. I was pinned in a sling for 6 weeks before I could even move. So talk about like scar tissue building up. Then I had frozen shoulder, and it's like, right? And it just kept going and going and going. And I'm like, you know what? I remember clear as day. I was sitting in my bed. I'm in Connecticut. It was wintertime. It's cold, snowing. It was gross out. And I thought to myself, there's more to life than waking up, going to physical therapy, and coming home and watching TV. This is not what I did. This is not what God wants me to do. And I had a really long talk with God. And I just said, you know what? Between you and me, God, I said, every time I've tried to force things, and every time I've tried to fit the square peg into the round hole, I have wound up flat down on my face.
Yep.
And I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to surrender it all.
Yes.
I'm going to sit back and I'm going to let you take me and show me where you want me to be.
That's right.
Tell me who you need me to be, who I need to show up for. And within about a week or so, just kind of making that declaration, there were just signs everywhere that people in my life, people online that I knew who were friends,
Hmm.
people were really hurting everywhere.
Yeah.
And I knew that there was a way that I could help heal some of the things that I had been through and also saw other people going through.
Mm.
And that is when I launched my wellness coaching business the first year.
Wow.
That very quickly grew into, so wellness, I was working with women trying to help them, eat well, exercise enough, get enough sleep. But there was a lot of sabotage going on,
Yeah.
self-sabotage. So I kept digging deeper, right? Because the psychologist in me wanted to just dig, right? Like, well, why? Why are you doing that? We just spent 2 hours on a meal plan
Mm.
and you completely threw it out the window and, stuffed down, I don't know, a box of Dunkin' Donuts on the way home. Why? Why did you do that? Because now you feel bad, right? So I was really digging. And what I realized was that most people were suffering from a lack of self-confidence.
Mm.
And that is how my career, as it is today, evolved. And it was not because I deliberately made decisions. It was the deliberate decision to surrender and let the doors open and then take the opportunities or create the opportunity.
Mm.
And that's what I've done.
That's beautiful. So it sounds like for people who are in that position of discovering who they are, what they're meant to do, their purpose, the clarity, they feel like things aren't quite clicking yet. That could be one of their accesses to a breakthrough, to really receiving the results that they want is like surrendering,
Yes, absolutely. And I know it's so hard. It's so hard. I am such a control freak. I was a control freak, I should say, and being a recovering perfectionist, like, I know it's not easy.
Yeah.
But I had to do the comparison. When I was trying to control everything, my life always wound up a mess.
Yeah.
And then, right, and then I started to see this evidence of, oh my God. So if I really just sit back and trust, doors open, good things happen,
Yeah.
And it wasn't just like, okay, let me just think it and it's gonna happen. I mean, you have to do the work.
Yep.
And that's the thing I think that I get the most upset with when people talk about this idea of, yes, you can have anything you want. You can, but you can't just sit there either and go, just show up. The clients are not just gonna show up. You have to
just manifest. Just like I sit back and you manifest. And this is great, Lisa Marie, because when you were talking about surrender, I know for me, I've been a very like go-getter, driven, masculine, like build it kind of thing, build it kind of energy. And I am continuously practicing to surrender to God, to surrender to the universe, to surrender to something bigger than me. And this morning I wrote, like, show me what you want me to do. Show me where you want me, how you want me to show up. And as you were saying how you surrendered, I noticed something that I didn't catch when I wrote that. And it was a little bit of doubt that, is this enough? Is me writing and asking, show me, and I surrender, and kind of like making that declaration, is that enough? And it was almost like there's a couple things going on. Number one, it's like it's making me small, like my request isn't powerful enough, right? It's more of that not enough. The other thing is it's making God small by saying he didn't hear me. It wasn't, I have to prove my worthiness enough so that he actually wants to like come in and support me and guide me. And it's like, no, like that's enough. Like just the request is enough. And I really get to remember that and keep reaffirming that and remind myself that it can be really hard to surrender. And it can also be easy to say, listen, this is easy to surrender. It's easy to say, God, guide me. It's easy for him or it to hear us and, give us that guidance. So I just really wanted to share that. That was a big breakthrough for me. And I think a lot of people might be dealing with that as well, is like the continuously asking, but not sure if anyone's listening,
No, I do know. I remember in my darkest hours, like just crying to God and being like, God, like, please help me. Like, I don't want to be like this. Like, and, even now, even in my own writings and in the things I do or the things I talk about, I often say, like, it's not as if we pop out of the womb and we're like, hey, when I grow up, I'm going to be like totally neurotic, feel worthless. I'm going to complain. I'm going to whine. I'm going to just be a basket case.
Right.
No child has that aspiration.
No way.
Right. And if they did, you would probably, feel like, okay, we should probably do some intervention here.
Yeah.
But I feel like as children, we, and I know some people don't have as good of an upbringing as others and things, and I don't want to discredit that or discount that. But I also do feel that at some point, as an adult, and this is this transition, right, from surviving to thriving, and from victim to victor, and moving out of these phases, we've all and will all be victimized at some point in our lives of something, right? Like I was hit. I was in a car accident. I don't think I did anything to antagonize that. Someone hit me on the highway, going 75, 80 miles an hour and kept going. Right. So yes, I was victimized. And for the 2 years following that, I stayed in victim mode, right? Which was, what was me? Look at me. I'm hurting all the time physically. I don't feel good about myself. So I'm going to take really crap jobs that pay me minimum wage and treat me like dirt. And then when I realized and I woke up and it was like, wait a minute, that the original injury, and I mean this metaphorically and literally, the injury that happened was not my fault. I was the victim of somebody else's whatever erratic driving behavior or whatever it was that day.
Right.
I guarantee that person never thought twice about me after that. And the reason that I'm saying that is because that person, and again, I've learned to forgive, right? And that was another big piece. Because the person who hit me, not only did he not stop, but he also filed bankruptcy 2 months after hitting me. And so you can kind of see the writing on the wall for that one. But yeah, I lost my job. I lost my profession as a massage therapist. I had to resign from the position I had. I had to close my own private practice. So yeah, I felt really bad about it. I felt really bad. But where he left off, I picked up and I continued to beat myself down. And there has to come a point in our lives where we can blame everybody else for everything, forever and always. And sometimes we even have a good reason, right? Someone was just downright nasty to us growing up, or we had a parent that was awful to us. Okay. But again, they're not with you anymore. They're not constantly there. You've simply taken over where they left off. So how on earth can you ever live a happy, joyous, abundant life if you're going to beat yourself up and pick up where your bullies left? Like, your bullies are gone. Like, they've gone on with their lives. They're not thinking about it. But you're still doing it to yourself. And that was a huge wake-up call for me.
So it sounds like continuing to either be the victim and experience that like powerlessness, or if there were traumas and things that we experienced, whether it was growing up or accidents, whatever, it's like we don't let it go with the event of the trauma. We keep carrying whatever the shame or the guilt or the negative feeling of that trauma with us, and we don't allow ourselves to heal. We don't forgive ourselves. We carry it with us. We don't let it go.
Right. Yeah, we hold on to it like a badge of honor. Like, no, like I was, I'm this way because, right? And we can fill in a million different reasons. I mean, I grew up in an alcoholic family. Not a lot of people know that about me because my parents are still married. They loved each other. It didn't take away from the fact that my dad had, alcoholic, and yeah, I grew up with a lot of craziness going on in my life. My way of dealing with that, I'm an only child. My way of dealing with that was to be a perfectionist.
Mm,
So I wasn't the partier and I wasn't the person who got in trouble,
mm,
but I was the girl who pushed herself above and beyond. Even though my parents were very loving towards me, they never told me I wasn't good enough. They
mm,
never told me that I needed to do more. But that was the way I chose to cope because I was a kid, I was a teenager, I was a young adult. That's the only way I knew how to cope.
mm,
And again, I can go on and blame my dad forever and always. And this is why I'm screwed up. And this is why I'm neurotic. This is why I can't fall in love. This is why I can't trust men. And I'm saying this because I know there's people out there who do this. I have friends that do this. And I'm like, okay, I get it
mm.
because I did it, but enough. You have to take ownership for your own life, whatever that looks like. If it means getting yourself a coach, getting yourself a therapist, getting yourself whatever you need to make yourself whole,
Mhm.
you have to be the one to take the reins on that.
Yeah. Wow. So it's that ownership, being responsible, whatever isn't working, like go to work on that, attack that, release it,
Exactly.
heal it, get the help that you need, and be relentless until you do. Like keep showing up until you have your breakthrough. Like it sounds like from surviving is just getting by and living in scarcity, fear, pain, whatever,
Yeah.
suffering. And the
Suffering.
way,
Yeah.
yeah, the way to get past that to thriving is to really take responsibility, get your power back, ask for help, choose like, I think a big thing that a lot of people don't do is like choose their thoughts and behaviors and actions and habits and environments wisely. They like you said, the badge of honor of whatever they've gone through, they don't even know. Like it's become so much of a part of their identity that they can't even imagine not having it. But if something isn't working the way you want it to in life, if you're not happy, if you're not fulfilled, question everything. Question everything that is quote unquote who you are until you create the freedom and the love and the happiness you desire. Because if you're holding to a truth, some truth, and you can't see it, preferably go work with a coach like Lisa Marie who can help you see your blind spots to see what might be stopping you from seeing that thing that you're holding on to, the baggage that you've been carrying. But until you can do that, like you're going to keep carrying it with you. So be relentless about it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Yeah. I mean, and that's truly what fires me up. That's
Mm,
what keeps my soul on fire is recognizing the same patterns and the same maladaptive coping mechanisms that I once used,
mm, yeah,
recognizing that in other people and then gently guiding them through that process, right? It doesn't have to be a harsh process.
mm,
It could be a very gentle, loving, nurturing process, and it should be. Um, but again, I think one of the things that makes me the most sad is when I do see that former version of myself in other people
mm,
because I know how much I was hurting. And even though people would say, "How you doing?" and you go, "Oh, I'm good." Yeah, it's okay. Everything's
mm,
okay. Is it really? It wasn't.
yeah,
I cried myself to sleep every night because I hated
mm,
my job. I
yeah,
hated my life. I hated my relationship. It was like everything that, and then again, I made the connection. I'm creating this external reality to
yeah,
validate how crappy I feel about myself.
yeah. You know what? One of the things that came up for me is um, like the admission of sometimes feeling like we have no idea what we're doing, right? Like for me, I've always prided myself on being knowledgeable, on being aware. And I was talking to another guest in the pre-interview call, and he said, "You know what? My goal is to be the dumbest person in the room. And if you tell me something three times and I still have to ask, Chris, like I just don't get it. Like, can you explain it again?" Like he prides himself on that. And for me, like I've had this ego that I've had to protect for so
Yeah,
long from getting hurt or damaged and pretending like I have everything all together and like I don't. Sometimes I have no freaking idea what I'm doing with the marathon, with coaching, with life, with relationships, with whatever, with finances, with spirituality. Like I admit it, like sometimes I have
yeah,
no freaking clue. And that's okay. That just creates a
Totally
space.
okay.
Yeah, it's like it creates a space for me to just share it and get it off my chest and like stop pretending like everything is okay. And when I do
Right.
that and I share it with you and people who I respect like yourself, like I can create opportunities for other people to pour into me instead of just going along like dragging my stuff behind me and the fears and the insecurities. Like I can let it go, put it down, and have people pour into me and say, well, you have this, this, and this. Have you ever thought about that? And it's like, well, I've thought about it, but I just like haven't taken action on it. And so it gives you and other awesome people an opportunity to actually make a difference for me, you know, and I know that's what you do for your clients as well, helping them to become more confident, helping them to become more visible. Have you found that like the taking ownership and taking responsibility, becoming the victor rather than the victim, is that super important for getting more visibility online and for your clients?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The number one reason why people are afraid to show up in any form, right? Even if they're writing a blog or writing social media posts or, and then you go into video and live video. Oh my God, right? Um, Me, I thrive on live video,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Put me on a webinar and I'm like, wah, 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 wah. It's just like I'm not good with scripts.
Right.
So, but turn the camera on, and I'm like, woo, let's talk.
Yes.
When I felt like I was a shell of myself during that period where I was really grieving the loss of certain, things that I was able to do due to the physical injury, and then of course losing the position and losing the career and all that. I I I knew when I looked in the mirror. I mean, I didn't have a smile. My face wasn't radiant. I wasn't excited. I didn't want people to. I thought about it even recently. I was thinking back to that period as I was actually filling out the notes for the show here, and I was taking down some notes for myself, and I thought, even during that period, like I didn't care about my appearance. I didn't, and I'm not saying women need to wear makeup or need to do their hair or have their nails done or whatever. I'm just saying, if you know for yourself, those are things that you enjoy, and then all of a sudden you're not doing them, that's something to sort of look
Notice.
Yeah. And I know during that period of time, like I probably had like 2 hooded sweatshirts and 2 pairs of sweatpants, and that's all I wore. And it was that's what I wore to work. That's what I wore in church. That's what I wore out. I just didn't feel good about myself.
Yeah.
Now, if I choose to wear sweats, which I do a lot actually,
Yep.
but if I choose just to wear sweats and be comfortable and be in leisure wear, whatever that is, that's a choice now that I can make and still feel confident. Whereas before it was just default.
Yeah.
Right? I was just on default. Oh, well, I guess I'll just wear this because, well, whatever. I don't care. I got to wear clothes to go out, I guess. I'll just wear this.
So instead of like it being a function of not feeling worthy and not like it doesn't matter what I look like because no matter what, quote unquote, I look like crap. Instead of that, you're like, well, I am beautiful, I am radiant, and now I get to choose like what I wear to complement that inner beauty and inner enoughness all the time.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, very much so.
That's awesome. What other struggles do you find people having, your clients, especially with being visible and being more confident in what they're doing, the work that they're doing?
I think one of the biggest problems for all of us, myself included, when I first came into this online scene, is this comparisonitis, right? The keeping up with the Joneses, keeping up with everybody's highlight reel.
Yeah.
And this is something I keep driving home, and I just wrote a post on it the other day. If I listen to one more entrepreneur flash across my screen with a paid ad on YouTube that says, I'm sitting here behind my $42 million house, and I did that in only 1 week, and you can do it too by following this formula. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, come on, are we real? Like, come on, right? So again, it's comparing yourself. It's thinking, oh, that person or those people have something I don't. And that, my friends, it's just total garbage. It's total BS. First of all, you don't live with anybody, so you have no idea what really goes on behind closed doors. Okay? You have no idea what's inside anybody's bank account. All right? Because quite frankly, the people that show their bank accounts, I'm like, I don't really believe you, because why would you even have to show that? Like, just stop. Right? Like, if you know you have that kind of money, that's great. You can talk about it, but you have to really show us like all your stuff to prove it. To me, that just seems like it's even more fake. I mean, just it's kind of funny because it's like, I think about like the corporate world or the rest of the world that works in this physical space. They don't go around showing each other their paychecks like every week. Hey, bro, like, what'd you get on Friday? Did you get paid the same? Like, did you get the same hourly wage, or did you get a raise? Like, people don't do that, right? So it's kind of bizarre that we do it here.
Yeah.
But I understand it's like a selling point and all that, and I get that, right? Like, hell, I mean, I want to be a millionaire too.
Yeah.
I find nothing wrong with that. Like, as long as I'm doing good, ethical work.
That's right.
So be it. Right?
Serving people, kicking butt, taking names. Yep.
That is my divine compensation.
Yes.
And that is exactly what I call it.
Wow.
And, but again, this idea of I don't have what so-and-so has. And I'm thinking, well, it's really an illusion, because you don't really know if you have what they have or don't have. You're not inside their home. You're not inside their head. You don't know what they've had to do to get to where they are. Right?
Yeah.
And I think that holds a lot of people back. They feel like, how can I measure up? How can I compete? No one's going to want to watch or listen or pay me attention because I'm not ... And again, you have to really look at some of those erroneous beliefs. Where are they coming from? Where are they stemming from? And the biggest thing for me is helping people to realize that a lot of the stuff that they think is the problem isn't really the problem. It's the symptom of the problem.
Yeah.
And for me, getting more in touch with this empathic, intuitive side. And I don't refer to myself as psychic, because I'm not psychic. And I don't refer to myself as a medium, because I'm not a medium. But I am very, very, very intuitive. And so I allow that to just kind of guide me whenever I'm speaking with people. And most often it's like, okay, so you're not showing up in your business. Let's talk about that more. How is that really a reflection of how you're showing up in your life? Because being an entrepreneur, I know you know this, it's kind of one and the same. Like, if you're not really feeling good about who you are as a person, very difficult for you to show up as an entrepreneur, as a person who runs a business.
Yeah.
It's even this fake it till you make it kind of thing. It's like, that's not, I mean, you could try that, it might work, but probably not.
No.
But yeah, I think that's really a big pitfall for a lot of people, is thinking that they have to be or do things a certain way in order to get accepted, and that's not true.
Lisa Marie, you are full of wisdom, girl. I love it. I love your life experience. I love your stories. Is there any really important things that you've experienced, principles about the work that you do, or just life lessons that you really want to communicate with our audience in these last couple minutes?
Yes, absolutely. First and foremost, you have to pay attention to your thoughts. Your thoughts create your beliefs. Your belief systems dictate your behavior. Your behavior becomes a pattern. Patterns are hard to break, right? Your thoughts can either be the starting of something incredible and amazing, or the absolute epitome of your downfall.
Yeah.
And for me personally, as I was coming out of these various periods of feeling pretty low and down about myself, I knew that my internal dialogue had to change. It had to change. And the only way I knew how to do that was to replace it. Because again, this is, psychology 101. If you want to extinguish one behavior, but you don't replace it with something else,
Yep.
that's just idle space,
Yep.
idle something where the ego, whatever you want to call it, the evil ego, whatever, it's gonna wiggle its way in there, right? Because it's like, ooh, opening, it's gonna like take a dash for it. You have to like bulletproof yourself essentially, and that's what I talk about. I talk about having a bulletproof mindset. What does that mean? It means that I flood myself with positive thoughts every single day, positive
Amen.
affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that if I get that one crappy comment or that one, passive aggressive dig online, or someone at the store isn't nice to me or whatever, right? It doesn't derail me.
Mm-hmm.
Before, those things used to derail me.
Yeah.
And I would walk away crying. I would wonder why I was such a bad person and what did I do wrong and it's like, oh, well, okay, you don't have to like me.
No.
Right? Like I'm at that stage, right? I just turned 40. I'm like, you don't have to like me. And I don't even care. Like I don't care if you like me. I know inside, right, at the depth of my soul, that I'm trying to be the best possible version of me. I know every day I wake up, I talk to God, I say, God, use me today in whatever capacity you feel I need to be used, right?
Yeah.
Help me to do your will be done, not mine, right? I will be done, right? And so as long as I can lay my head down at night, feeling with a clear conscience, knowing that I've done nothing to intentionally hurt or harm anybody else, and I've only tried to do good by people, then I'm okay if everybody doesn't like me. Yeah. I'm okay if somebody thinks I'm ... Mm-hmm. Too much or ego or whatever. Like I'm okay with me finally. Finally. I'm okay with me. And when you get to that place, it really is night and day. I was the kind of person, I was so sensitive that someone could tell me, I don't know, that I had like a hair out of place and I would cry. I would feel so bad. And I'm at the point now where I'm like, well, this is me, imperfection and all.
Yep.
And I like me.
Yeah.
I like myself, but it was a long time in the making.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Takes a lot of practice. And like you said, owning those thoughts, you got to really replace any kind of negative thoughts or self-sabotaging, self-deprecating thoughts and turn them into, uplifting and empowering thoughts and put that ish on autopilot. And that takes work. It takes repetition, it takes intensity and commitment and conscious attention. So you've really put in the energy to develop yourself, Lisa Marie, and now you're supporting other people and doing that too. So I want to transition into how people can stay connected with you and what are the next steps that they can take on their journey with you.
Absolutely. So I would love to connect with anyone who feels that, they're at this sort of, crossroads and just know that they can't go on the way they are, but know that they want a different way and they're just feeling stuck. I get it. I feel it. I feel you. The best way to connect with me is to actually connect with me on Facebook. Okay. Of course, you can visit my, website, but again, that's a work in progress. And I feel as though with my online visibility expertise, I should be visible. So if you even just Googled me, you would be able to find me, right? So wherever you find me, if you find me on Instagram, amazing. If you find me on LinkedIn, cool, let's chat there. Wherever you find me, I'm happy to connect. Facebook would probably be the very easiest just because I feel like a lot of us are on here.
I love it. Lisa Marie, you are awesome and on fire. And your website is www.lisamariepepe.com, and Pepe is spelled P-E-P-E. So yeah. Lisa, LISAMARIEPEPE.com. And Facebook is at facebook.com/PTPWC.
Yes, that's awesome. Another story for another day, but that is what it is.
Awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, stay connected with Lisa Marie, and I so appreciate you, Lisa Marie. Thank you for showing up here, sharing your wisdom and your love and your experience. It's beautiful, and I'm really, really proud of you and your journey and your growth. And this is seriously just the beginning for both of us. So we're keeping that fire lit, girl.
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much, Chris.
I appreciate you. I'll see you soon. Okay.
All right, take care.
Take care.